Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. This is Go Big and Go Homeschool. My name is Maggie. I'm the mom of 10 children and I've homeschooled for 17 years. Today I want to talk to you about creating a simple schedule for your family. First, let's talk about why you would create a schedule at all. This is a surprisingly controversial topic in homeschooling circles these days, and for good reason. A lot of us chose the homeschooling lifestyle because of the flexibility that it affords. We wanted to break out of the mold of public school where your child is sitting for exactly 22 minutes per subject and let our kids just have delight-directed learning and run with the stuff that interests them and, kind of not be stuck in these rigid molds. Yes, I want that for my kids too. I get it. But let me tell you a story. When my sixth baby, Ransom, was born, I reached a level of overwhelm that I had not experienced before. My oldest child was beginning to do middle school work. I had a newborn. I had toddlers. I had kids learning to read. I was doing the dishes and the laundry and the meals. You get it. You're doing all the same stuff too. And I knew I could not be a fly-by-the-seat-of-your-pants mom anymore. It wasn't working. A lot of things were falling through the cracks. And frankly, even a lot of the fun, spontaneous things that I wanted to do, I found that we didn't have time for because we constantly had urgent decisions coming at us all day long. So I found that we were ignoring the long-term goals, the really important stuff, because we had so many urgent things coming at us all day long. Hundreds of decisions every day that I could have made ahead of time. And this is the magic of a schedule. You have to make these decisions. Either you can make them as they fly at you throughout the day, or you can make them ahead of time and leave yourself some flexibility for change, but at least have that taken care of in your brain. I began by doing things like meal planning. That made a big difference. Meal planning helped me a lot. I still needed a really good, flexible system that I could just kind of plug all my pieces into. And I had a hard time finding something. I first thought, well, if I put it on a dry erase board, then I can erase things that aren't working and I can kind of move things around. And I found for our family, a dry erase board isn't flexible, it's a temptation. And so I had toddlers drawing over what I had written or taking the dry erase markers over to the couch. And I had naughty children who didn't want to do certain things on the schedule, going up and erasing them. And then I couldn't remember what had been there anymore. So that didn't work. And then I thought, well, I just need to sit down and just plan it out all at once, and then we'll just try the next day, and whatever doesn't work, we'll start over. So I wrote down what I thought would be a good daily schedule, and I thought, well, we'll just try a 4-hour block for school. We'll sit down, we'll get all the school done, we'll get it out of the way, we won't allow any distractions, and then we can move on with our day, and we can do the fun stuff, and we can do the chores. It turns out that babies and toddlers have urgent needs that do not fit outside of your little 4-hour block. I was just really struggling. And then on one of my mom internet groups, I heard of Managers of Their Homes by the Maxwells. I will put a link down below. I'm not an affiliate, just really love the book. I do highly recommend that you buy it and read your way through it. It answers a lot of questions that I'm not going to have time for in this video. So I bought Managers of Their Homes and I read through it and I thought, yeah, this makes sense. This is something that'll work for me. But I still felt like there was a step before that was missing. A friend gave me another resource that is long gone, and I'm very sorry. I've looked all over for this resource, and this was before the days of the internet. Maybe somebody is a better Google sleuth than I am and they can find it. I believe that it was called 24 Hours is All You Get, and I believe that the mom's name was Susan Bradrick. This was a kit that was a purchase option through a conference or something like that, and then it came with some worksheets. That worksheet was so helpful to me, and I've tried to recreate my own, and I'll link it below. Let me go ahead and show you how that works. This is the first step in creating your family schedule. And it's not going to be the same for everybody, obviously, but most of what a homeschooling mom does fits into some of these categories. Your job is to go through it and prioritize, okay? So the first step is going to be to prayerfully consider each category. You're going to cross some stuff off, you're going to fill in some blanks, and just kind of customize it to you. Now go through and assign each category A, B, C, or D. You could do 1, 2, 3, 4, A being the most important. Now you're going to pencil in how much time you think each thing will get on your schedule. I like to do this thinking about a daily schedule in mind. Obviously, some things you're not going to do every day, but just go ahead and give it your best guess how much time you're going to spend on that in a day. Leave lots of room, lots of margin, breathing room, and be realistic. Now you have to add up everything that you do. Did you exceed 24 hours? Don't panic. This is a gift. This realization is a gift to you. God gave you your family. He gave you your responsibilities, and He's not going to put more on your plate than you can handle. Go ahead and take a week or more. Talk with your spouse, talk with your family, figure out what needs to stay and go. Let's go ahead and start with spiritual life. And for me, this is a very high priority. It's an A. It's definitely going to stay on my schedule, and I definitely want to spend some time on it every day. So I'm going to give that an A, and I'm going to say that I want to dedicate 30 minutes. Regular fellowship. I'm going to do this, once a week when we go to church, and it's going to get 2 hours. Okay? So I'm going to go through here. I'm going to think about how much time each thing realistically takes, and I'm going to decide if it's an A, B, C, or D. Now, I don't have a baby. I can go ahead and cross that off. I do have a small child, so I'm going to be spending some time on some of these things, but this category doesn't really apply to me anymore, okay? Right now in Nevada, our legislature is open, and there are a few bills that are really, really concerning to me, so I'm involved with those, and those are a really high priority to me. I'm going to say that those are even a B. My online activism, I would say, takes 5 minutes a day. I'm dedicated to giving it 5 minutes a day, and I've been surprised how much I can get done in that time. However, I like to lump it all into one day. So let's say that I spend 25 minutes one day. That's one way I could schedule that. I want to attend a regular meeting of Nevada Friends of Midwives, and I want to speak with the Nevada Homeschooling Network on a regular basis and make sure, I know what's going on with these bills and what I can do. Those meetings, I would say, take about 3 hours total a week. Just guessing, okay? I want to make sure that I'm spending some time on mother culture, scole, self-development. This is a high priority for me. So you get it. You're going to go through here, you're going to decide what needs to stay, what needs to go, assign everything a time. If you end up with more than 24 hours, don't panic. You just need to decide what's got to go. Then when you have your list in front of you, when you have done all of your priorities, then you have something to work with. Now you have some pieces that you can put on a schedule, and you can be at peace with it, knowing that you are dedicating your precious, precious hours every day to the things that matter to you most. And although it can be really hard and painful to give up some other things, you know that you're making the right choice. Okay, time for step 2. You filled out your priorities worksheet. Now it's time to take another week. I know you're excited to get started. I know you want your schedule done, but you're going to make a lot of decisions all at once, and this takes time. So the next thing that you're going to do is get one piece of paper for each person in your family. Sometimes dad is included in this. Oftentimes he's away at work for the majority of your day's schedule. So just ask him if he wants to be included or if that even makes sense. For most of us, it's going to be mom getting her own page and then each child who's home getting their own page. And you're going to take all of the stuff from your priorities worksheet and you're going to just write it down on a piece of paper. I like to carry around a notebook in my apron pocket and work on this throughout a few days or even a week because you'll just remember stuff as you go. Oh gosh, okay, I need to write down that I'm going to do 30 minutes of physical therapy with Bobby while his ankle heals, that kind of thing. So you're also going to write how much time you plan to dedicate to each thing in either 1 hour or 30-minute increments. I know you'll be tempted to write down a whole lot of stuff that doesn't actually take 30 minutes. It doesn't take 30 minutes to brush your hair and teeth, for instance. We're going to give it 30 minutes anyway because we need lots of margin in our schedule. This is where your flexibility comes in. So if you are in the middle of brushing your hair and teeth and, your baby has an explosive diaper or a fight breaks out with your toddlers and you have to stop everything and go deal with it, it doesn't matter. Your schedule's not thrown. You gave yourself a half hour for brushing your hair and teeth. This is not complete, but these are just some examples of what would end up on my daily schedule. Okay. I'm going to have an hour dedicated to each meal. Start with your easy things first. Some people call these anchors. They're pretty much the same every day. You don't have to give it a lot of thought. You go ahead and get those down on paper, and then you can start to build around those things. So I'm going to dedicate an hour to breakfast and cleaning up. In our house, we call that zones. An hour for lunch and cleaning up. An hour for dinner and cleaning up. Then I'm going to fill in a half hour with my 7-year-old to do school, a half hour with my 9-year-old, an hour for morning time. Going to give myself 30 minutes for a walk, 30 minutes for core exercises, 30 minutes for Bible and prayer, and so on. Everybody's list is going to be different. Then I'm going to flip to a fresh new page, and I'm going to write the name of the next oldest child on top, and I'm going to go through. You want to include everything. You're trying to get to 24 hours, so you're going to write in sleep, 8 hours. If you have babies who are taking naps, you're going to go ahead and write those in. All that kind of thing. Take your time. That's step 2. This is the magic of managers of their homes. I love this system so much that I've applied it to pretty much any other planning in life, to meal planning. I've applied it to work, anytime I have a big project. This is the way my brain works, and I suspect it's going to work for a lot of you too. The next step is to get some colored paper. I like cardstock because I end up moving my pieces around and around and around, and they start to fall apart. So in the Managers of Their Homes kit, you get everything that you need. You get a stack of colored paper. You get your sticky stuff. I'm using these clear, I don't know if you can see them, repositionable pieces. They need to be repositional. You're not using tape. That will tear your paper. You can either get some of that poster tacky stuff, which is what comes with Managers of Their Homes. There's a lot of great options out there. You want something that you can move around and around, okay? And you're going to make a grid. Managers of Their Homes comes with a grid already printed up on your paper. This is tedious. Yes, I know I'm already losing some of you, but you got to stick with me. If you have a large family, and I suspect you do because you're overwhelmed and you're watching this, you have a lot of help. So you're going to assign each person a color. So let's say mom gets pink, Bobby gets blue, Sally gets yellow, okay? Depending on how big you want your schedule to be, you can make 1-inch squares, 2-inch squares. I chose 2-inch because I wanted it to be big enough on the wall for you to see. Each square is a half hour. So everything that I wrote on my paper here, I'm going to transfer onto these. So let's say I've dedicated an hour to breakfast and cleaning up, or doing our zone. It's going to get one of these long pieces. This is an hour. Let's say I want to give 30 minutes to doing school with Candor, my 7-year-old. I'm going to write that on a little half-hour piece. You can have your kids cut these out. They're not going to be perfect. Remember, perfect is the enemy of progress, right? That's step 3. Since Ransom is an invalid today, I have invited him to help me in the tedious process of cutting all of our colored squares for our schedule board. And our good friend Alan, who is a neighbor sometimes, say hi, Alan, has stopped by to help. Watch your fingers there, Riz. That thing's super sharp. Couple words of advice. Don't do this with a fan on or next to an open window. You probably shouldn't try to do it while your toddlers are awake because they will want to help. I found that I had to do this late at night when everybody was asleep. Usually takes a couple days. You're going to want a safe place where you can stash your chart as you're working on it. You're just going to do a column down the left that has the times of the day starting at, whatever time you want to wake up. For us, it's 5. For you, it might be 10, whatever. And you're going to just do half-hour segments all the way down. I always found that I needed 2 separate sheets, one for the morning, one for the afternoon. And you're just going to take those beautiful, movable pieces and you're going to try to fill in the puzzle of your day. The beauty of the system is if you have assigned something that isn't going to work in a certain slot, you just move it. And you're not going to forget about it because you still have that piece. You set it aside and you take a look at all the pieces together. For instance, it's time to sit down and do some individual work with your 7-year-old. It does take 100% of your attention, and what are we going to do with the toddler during that time? You look at your schedule and you realize, oh, the 11-year-old has finished up their school. Maybe they could entertain the toddler and build block towers or something for half an hour. So you go ahead and you put that in, and then you realize, oh, that's not going to work because that's the only time that the 11-year-old can finish up his math. He's going to need the computer for that. Oops, I had Sally scheduled to use a computer at that time. Let me pull those pieces off and give it some more thought. Try to create a schedule around what you're already doing. If you guys naturally start waking up around 8 a.m., you're just going to set yourself up for failure if you start your schedule at 6 a.m. Here is our family's current schedule that we started yesterday. I'm not going to go through every little square, but I know that a lot of you are going to want some examples on how this can work. So let me go ahead and show you just a few things. We start at 5 in the morning. There we go. You can see that I have myself and all the kids at home right across the top. The left-hand side is the morning, goes from 5 down to 11. And then we start up here at 11:30 and we go down to 5 o'clock. Of course, we do have an evening routine, but it's very, very flexible. So I don't put that on the schedule. Now, I'm also not a real stickler for things happening exactly in order unless there's like a computer or a room that is, wanting to be used by everybody. In that case, then we have to stay in order. For instance, I'm not necessarily going to go for my walk, do my core exercises, and take care of the garden and chickens all in that order. I may shake it up, I might sleep in, but this is a general idea of what I'll do in the morning. At 6:30, I'm going to be having Bible and prayer. Everybody else just needs to keep quiet if they're even awake at all. DTH stands for dress, teeth, hair, and then everybody's going to straighten their room. At 7:30, we have breakfast and we clean up our zones. I'll make a separate video on zones. At 8:30, I'm going to be doing laundry, and everybody else has the option of exercising or doing some dog training. Cece's going to be with me, helping me to do laundry. At 9 o'clock, I'm going to start rotating through the kids who need my individual help. And the other kids are either going to be doing outdoor chores, doing their own school that they can do on their own, or helping me to watch littles. So for instance, here I have Cece, who is 3 years old, and Israel, who is 5. I have them scheduled to play with the 9-year-old Moses. They have a good time. They can get out some toys they don't normally play with on their own and have the advantage of a 9-year-old who can build some more intricate Lincoln log cabins and all that kind of stuff. That's working really, really well. At 10, we are going to have an hour morning time. I am a stickler about morning time starting on time. Everybody needs to have their tea and their pencils and everything they're going to want ready to go for morning time. The rest of it is a little more flexible, but at 10, we're going to have morning time. After morning time, I have a half hour scheduled for all the little things that fall through the cracks in regards to homemaking. This is not the day-to-day chores. This is more for things like changing the air filters or calling the phone company to move a jack or hanging some pictures that I've wanted to get on the wall. All that kind of stuff. I have a rotating list in my bullet journal, and I just try to knock out as much as I can every day at 11 o'clock. My 16-year-old will be playing with the little ones at that time. Everybody else is doing school alone. Now you'll notice I don't have specific subjects assigned to specific times. I like to keep this really, really flexible. The kids have their assignment notebooks, which you saw in the last video, and they just work through that. I don't care what order they do it in, as long as it gets done. Now, at times, I have had to schedule specific subjects at particular times. For instance, if you have a kid who burns out really fast and they're their freshest early in the morning, and you know that that's the only time of day that they can get math done, go ahead and schedule that at a specific time. Or let's say you have a kid who takes an online live class at a particular time and they have to be on there. Or if you have limited space to work with and you know that there are a few kids who are not going to work well together in the same room for particular quiet subjects, all those things you would take into consideration. Okay, moving on to the afternoon, we're going to have lunch at 11:30 and clean up our zones. This is where things start to get squirrely sometimes. This is the half hour where I'm going to lie down with my littles, who are 3 and 5. Everybody in my house who is 6 or under has a mandatory rest time. Sometimes they fall asleep in that half hour and sometimes they don't, and so it's just kind of hit or miss. That's why I've scheduled something that's not incredibly important, that doesn't necessarily need our daily attention, but does need attention often throughout the week. And that is for us to go through their Boy Scouts books, look at the merit badges they're working on, take some time to get on the computer and enter what they've finished and all that kind of stuff. I have 6 kids in Scouts, and it can get overwhelming. So I knew if I didn't dedicate some time to it, it would never happen. Yet it's not necessarily a daily thing, so I put it in a spot where if I can't make it because I'm still trying to get the littles to sleep, then it's okay. Then we're going to have our read aloud. I have a half hour here, which really is not as long as any of us would like, but I'll split it in half, 15 minutes with my bigger kids, 15 minutes with my middles. Sometimes I hit gold and I find a book that appeals to everybody. Right now, we're just not at that spot. I have a rotating list of stuff that my husband asks me to do, like, call this person, print this out for me, can you sew up this hole in my pants, all that kind of stuff that you know how it goes. You say, oh, sure, honey, yeah, I can do that for you, no problem, and then you forget. I have that all written down on a list. My big kids are still going to be working on their individual school. Here's something new I'm trying out. My 7-year-old and my 9-year-old are scheduled to read together. So far this isn't working out too well. I may need to give this another shot. If my littles have woken up from their nap, that's when they can have some TV time. At 2:30, this is when my big kids can come to me with their finished school, and I'm going to check it over. I'm just going to make sure that it's done. This doesn't necessarily take a half hour, but they know I am available at this time to make sure that everything was done, and they aren't going to be moving on with the other stuff that they would like to do with their day, such as going outside to play with their neighbor friends or any of that. That all has to be done by 3 o'clock. If they're not done, then most of their time for the rest of the day is free or catch up, which gives them the opportunity to catch up on the stuff they didn't do. I also have some random little squares here of kids doing outdoor chores. I like for kids to do those all together all at once, but it just didn't work out in this particular schedule. So, that's when they're going to be outside picking up trash or whatever it is that I've scheduled. Skole and mother culture. This is the time of day, ladies, where I just melt. My brain isn't working so great anymore. I'm tired. I usually want to have a cup of tea or something and sit down and read a beautiful book and just kind of get my feet up. Then I am technically free. I've actually left this open as like breathing space, margin room, mostly just so that I can be available to the kids. At 4:30, I'm going to do laundry again. I do handle the entire family's laundry. That's something that I like to handle all by myself, so it does take an hour total each day, if not longer. So I will be, addressing laundry all day long in those quick little minutes, like at meal times or whatever. I'll run in there and I'll switch it over. But these are the scheduled times of the day, 8:30 in the morning and 4:30 in the evening, when I really go into the clothes room and get everything all put away. At 5 o'clock, we've got dinner and a cleanup, and then the rest of the evening is pretty free. I hope that was helpful to you. I know it was so helpful for me to read through the sample schedules provided in Managers of Their Homes and see how other families get through their homeschool day. How often are you going to need to redo your schedule? This is going to be different for every family. I have had seasons in life where we didn't need to use that schedule at all. We've had seasons of life where we could coast along on one schedule, just kind of tweaking it here and there for months on end. And then I've had other seasons in my life where I had to sit down with my moving pieces and maybe even start from scratch every couple of months. This is especially true when you have a very young baby or toddlers, and moms, they just reach those milestones faster than you can keep up. So if you have a schedule that, centers around a baby taking a 2-hour nap in the afternoon and then they suddenly drop that nap, you're going to have to redo your schedule a little bit. If you have some kids who are just sailing through their curriculum and they're ready to move on to the next thing, but you know that the next thing is just going to need to be scheduled a little differently, you're going to have to redo your schedule. The beauty of saving your little moving pieces in a bag is that you can take them all out and you're not starting from scratch again. If you like this content, please like and subscribe. It really helps me to keep producing these videos. And happy homeschooling.